Okay, my lovelies. So I'm just going to give you an update on trial reels. Because like I said, this is how I hit like over 2 million in reach and added, I think it's now close to like 3,500 in my following in like 4.5 days at this point of me recording. And like the small tweaks, because it's nothing huge that has changed since the original strategy that I shared with you a couple of months ago. Okay. So it's going to be simple. I've kept it as simple as possible so that I can just basically go through with you the basics. So, for context, if you remember the original trial strategy that I shared, and that is still in the mastermind directory for you to refer to, because it does have some of the background in it. The strategy then was you could share up to 20 posts a day, and literally you share the exact same reel, same caption, same text, like overlay of what's in the screen, same B-roll. You can make certain tweaks if you are in an experimental stage, but if it is literally about bringing followers, it was same, 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 so that we flooded the feed to like trigger the algorithm to push you out to more people, basically. And this is like a screenshot of my edits back then when I was doing this. Now, this worked really well. We needed the consistency in this, and consistency is still key with this like new strategy. But Instagram soon clocked on to that was how people were using trial reels. And like people have had amazing success with that. So, in terms of the new shift, because it's not so much a new strategy, it's a new shift. Basically, Instagram is now recognizing what's called like visual duplication. So if you're posting the same background, same text overlay multiple times, it flags with a notification like this. Okay. So your trial reel won't get much reach because it looks like something you've shared before. And what you will notice is because I had this come up quite a few times the first when this change was introduced, is you might get some reach, but it'll be like under 100 possibly, or maybe a few hundred, but it's not actively pushing your reel out. And this means the old strategy that we learned doesn't work anymore. You can't just copy and paste your way to becoming viral. And this isn't actually about becoming viral anyway. We don't care about becoming viral, but what we are trying to do is like grow visibility with a cold audience here. And you can see from me putting into place, which I'm about to share with you, this new shift, we have gone from views that I used to get before, which I would say the maximum was about 10,000, but on average it was like between 4 to 7,000. You can see now over 10K, 202K, 253,000, 45, 49, and it's gone much, much higher than that as well. So what have I done to be able to do this that isn't that much extra work from the original strategy? I am going to share it with you. Oh, okay. So they said you can't copy and paste your way to virality anymore. You can still do that. You just can't do it in the visual way that we were doing it before. However, what is working now, instead of repeating the exact same reel 10, 20 times, the thing that we keep the same is the principle. It's like we keep the same message, what we're trying to go out there with. We post the exact same caption, but the thing that we change is the hook on the screen. So it creates a different entry point with only a few tiny tweaks, and it's creating a new pattern for the algorithm every single time we use it. Okay. So in these two examples, you can see I'm talking about the invisible guest theory. Have you ever noticed the invisible guest theory? This other part comes up like halfway through. Most people miss it completely. I'm still talking about the same thing. I've just created a slight variation of the hook. It's called the invisible guest, and I've changed it up to be phenomenon this time. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. So it's the exact same message, slightly different entry point. And you might be thinking, oh, yeah, but that's so much extra work. I'm going to show you how it is not extra work in the slightest. And this is what has created like 3,500 followers. Because why this works is Instagram is still seeing these as completely unique reels. Okay. The main hook has come, the main changes, sorry, has come from the text, the hook. And sometimes I change up the B-roll in the background, these two, for example, because I am still doing tests to see which types of B-roll perform the best. So in these two examples, this singing in my car B-roll performed the best, which is interesting because this B-roll, where I am like popping the Prosecco at the summer event, which lots of you were there, this is the one I use, I would say 90% of the time, and has the majority of my highest performing trial reels I use in this video. Okay. But this is working because basically it's it's the loophole that Instagram hasn't seen. Because in theory, we are talking about different things. We've just worded it slightly different. So it's fresh. It's still going to stop the scroll and it's still going to get pushed to non-followers. Okay. So basically, what you're doing is you're still being able to multiply your reach without reinventing the wheel and without kind of watering down and splitting your focus. We're still just focused on this one message. Okay. So, however, as always, it is still really, really important. The most important part is the quality of the hooks. You can't just chuck 10 different things, different hooks on there and expect to go viral. Okay. Now, I talked a little bit about this in the last training, but basically, this was one of the slides from the last training. So I'm not going to read the whole thing all over again. But basically, the three big things that make a great hook for trial reels, because we are talking about cold audience here. They do not know you, they don't know your niche. That we're not selling to them, we're not being niche specific. The three biggest things are curiosity, tension, and giving them some kind of big promise. Those three things still hugely count when it comes to your hooks for this reel, for these trial reels. And you can go back to this slide when you're viewing this yourself. But also, what also matters when it comes to this little shift, and what I have noticed that has blown my page up in the last 4 or 5 days, is the hooks that hit the hardest are the hooks that create that instant curiosity and tension, which is what I just shared on that last slide. They are outperforming everything else that I put out there. Okay. But there is now a winning pattern. And the winning pattern that I have noticed started, the first one that I used was like, have you ever heard of the X theory? Okay. And all the different variations of this. And I'm going to show you some of the variations of that so you can literally copy and paste them for your own ideas moving forward. So, have you ever heard of the X theory, X, whatever it's called, theory? Now, this works because this triggers what's called an existential curiosity. So it's not just like a normal curiosity, like, oh, that's interesting. Like, how do I do this? That's just like a normal surface level curiosity. Is quite informational. But existential curiosity is that it creates that, like, why am I here? Almost like, it's about your existence on Earth. And I know that sounds really dramatic, but it's the kind that makes you want to find out the meaning behind something. It's like connecting the dots between like life, death, the purpose, your identity, like time, whatever it might mean. And when add in the words like theory, effect, phenomenon, okay, but also some of the viral then words that I'm going to show you, like parallel life theory, the funeral effect, some of those words, the brain doesn't just think like, oh, yeah, that's interesting. It thinks, oh, this might tell me something about me. Like it sounds scientific or like folklore, you know? It's something that gives you immediate authority, even though like you've just created it using ChatGPT to help you. But that people subconsciously think like, oh, this must be a thing. If it's a theory, if it's a fact, if it's a phenomenon, if it's a, oh, there was another one I used today. Um, it's completely gone out of my head. But if it's got one of those words, it sounds like factual, mystical, and that's what keeps people hooked. And there's like an emotional formula behind it, which existential curiosity is like where you've got the mystery, the whole like, what does that mean? Plus, you've added in like, and this sounds a bit dramatic, but you've added in like a level of mortality, like, oh, what if it ends? Or like parallel life, funeral, like afterlife, all of these certain types of words, which I'm going to talk to you about a minute. And also like meaning. Like, what could this tell me about me? That's like the winning formula almost. It's why like our brains and the psychology side of it can't resist finishing the thought. Like it's not the same as like curiosity that you have over gossip. It's like an identity curiosity. And that is why tapping into this existential curiosity really kind of is what has made these trial reels take off. Okay. So the types of, copy and paste hooks, so to speak, that are hitting every time. So, and again, I use ChatGPT to come up with these different variations because I found, like I said, that have you ever heard of the X, whatever it is, theory was the one that I was doing the best constantly. And in the old formula, I was literally reposting that type of hook over and over and over again. So I've used ChatGPT for these. Also, I've used my brain and I've tried and tested different ones. And these are now what I would call my top 10 that I literally use every single time. Okay. And you can use them every single time. So there's a reason no one talks about let's just go with one, the one I did today is called the ghost theory. So there's a reason no one talks about the ghost theory. Have you ever noticed the ghost phenomenon? Most people miss it completely. Someone once told me about the ghost theory. It changed everything. Now, what we are effectively doing is we are posting the exact same reel. We are just changing the hook on the screen to trick the algorithm. And this is purely, like I will say again, for cold audience following that doesn't know you yet. And we are triggering people to follow us in the hope that some of the people who follow us are our ideal clients. That's the goal. This isn't just about getting like a big following, because that doesn't give you anything at the end of the day. So these are copy and paste hooks. You are going to have the slides. I've also put these in a Google Doc for you that you can use. But now you're going to be like asking, okay, but so what? What else goes with this and what's the process? What also matters as well as that hook is that viral, I'm calling it a viral word effect. That word that we put in place of these X's, because I have tested quite a few. Some have completely and utterly flopped. Some, and I now know the type, have like taken off. Okay. So the viral word effect. So these need to be words that trigger huge emotion and mystery, that existential kind of thought, okay? And the ones that seem to be doing the best are things to do with like death, funeral. And I know this sounds really depressing, but then your caption doesn't have to talk about death and funerals. Okay. So anything to do with like death, funeral, afterlife, those types of things. And the reason for these ones is because it's almost like that level of mortality that I said to you about. So words like funeral, death, even like vanishing, they make the brain like pause because they activate our survival awareness. Like we instinctively want to understand what this is about because we might be able to avoid danger. Okay. So whenever the brain sees something that could relate to like endings or loss or mortality or something like that, your brain spikes into attention instantly. And it makes the viewer subconsciously think, like, wait, like, what's going on here? Like, is this literal? Is this metaphorical? Like, that split second confusion equals click. They're going to click to find out more. Okay. So we've got like the kind of morbid type of ones. We've then got ones that are more about what I would call like observing, like being watched. So you've got like ghost, invisible, unseen guest, the watcher. Those all kind of come into this like the unseen observer almost, like I said, the watcher. And these basically, in terms of like psychology, they trigger our fascination with being watched or missing something or not being in control. And there's something called an actual watcher effect in psychology. And it is the genuine phenomenon that people behave differently when they think they're being watched, which we all know. Okay. And these types of hooks work when you use any types of words, and these are just the main words. There's lots that can come off this. These type of hooks work because they speak to like any invisible like dynamics in our lives. So how we think people think about us, how people perceive us, like what's really happening behind closed doors, the parts of ourselves that we hide and we don't tell anyone about. Like we know how huge those are. They feel like the person who's written this is like in our brain, which is something we talk about all the time. It also got an element of like spirituality there. So they appeal to like both sides of the brain, the logical and the more emotional, intuitive side. And they've got that like dual activation, which is why they work. Okay. And then we've got something that's more about like the unknown. They kind of a lot of these could come through to the unknown, but things like the mirror, um, the mirror theory. I did one the other week called the broken mirror theory. Parallel lives. That is one that has massively taken off from me for me in the last couple of days. Okay, so these words like mirror, parallel, vanishing point. I've done one of those, shadow. They all create like a subtle mental conflict. The feeling that there's more to reality than we like realize. So they play on our brain's natural need for like closure. Like we see a gap in understanding and we can't like move away from that, scroll away until we've filled that gap. Okay, it sounds like secret knowledge. And that's why this hook completely and utterly works because it implies that there's like a hidden layer, there's something you've missed or something everyone else knows, but you don't know yet. And that's why people like find these ones really interesting as well. So all of these spark that subconscious intrigue. The brain has to resolve them, so they click to watch. So we've got like the hook formula. We've now got an idea of the type of viral words to use. Okay, and these are just some examples of what I did. So this one, I tried out the word test instead of theory, etc. It didn't perform as well, still done really well. And this one is called the 3 a.m. floor test. Now, again, I've put certain things into ChatGPT and it came up with this one. And when you read the caption, it goes into like the moment when you're on the floor at 3 a.m., what's going through your mind, blah, 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 blah. I couldn't even tell you word for word what it said because ChatGPT wrote it. And then I just tweaked it. But it creates a certain element of intrigue. It just didn't do as well. It wasn't as mysterious. Okay, and viral like. So I just wanted to show you that one. And this was in the time where you posted the exact same thing over and over again. Um, Other variations. This one has done reasonably well. Nobody tells you about the towel drop theory. Because again, where I was going with that was a bit of mystery and things that are like sound illegal or intimate, like, anything to do with like sex type of thing, or something you wouldn't do in public, like, drop your towel or something. Those kind of create a level of intrigue. So that one did quite well for me. This one, have you ever heard of the bra test? I actually love this and it's so accurate. It's about like when you that feeling when you take your bra off when you get in from a long day, like all women know that feeling. So it like resonated hugely. So this one actually has done really well with different reels. And then this one, I thought this would be a really good one. So have you heard of the blindfold heist? Again, I was playing around with different words and I thought blindfold sounds really intriguing. Didn't work. And it didn't work as a hook on lots of different like B-rolls either. So I just want to kind of point that out because not everything works all of the time. And I have really done the testing in the background here to see what works. This one, again, have you ever heard of the almost theory? So I used the exact same video. Have you ever heard of the almost theory? Got 788 views in like over the course of like 5 days. Whereas this one, over the course of 5 days has got 62,000. So it's called the parallel life. I told you, phenomenon. So it's got more intrigue. It's tapping into like those things I just talked to you about, the existential curiosity, and people want to click. Is it you can see the difference. The almost theory, that doesn't sound very interesting. Parallel life phenomenon. And I've also obviously done parallel life theory as well. Okay, so I've tested all of the differences. This one to date has been my highest performing one. So have you noticed again, this was the parallel life phenomenon. So same one, we're still talking about the same thing, but I've just used one of those 10 different hook formulas, change it up. This one did brilliantly. This one did equally amazingly. And this post alone, I think, brought in something like 600 followers. And this is a different one. This one it's called the invisible guest phenomenon. And I'm just showing you this one so that you can see the figures. So it's not just about the reach. This got 606 saves. It was reposted 19 times, which actually isn't very high for some of my reposts. And it got 990 likes. So it's not just how many times it's been viewed, it's all of this data is brilliant for the algorithm as well. So now, the death kind of element that I was talking to you about, the morbidity word, mo morbid, yeah, the morbid, something being morbid, basically, a mortality one. You can see variations of this. And again, this is showing you not every single one takes off in the exact same way. So my theory here was literally called the death theory. Okay. Sounds just awful, doesn't it? But I've just used three of those different um out of the 10 caption models. Okay. Just copied and pasted them onto each. The caption is exactly the same. And you can see the difference. This is the best one out of those. And then these ones are just three different versions. So of something in that kind of existential world, but more to do with like being morbid. So no one talks about the quiet funeral conspiracy. They call it the funeral theory. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. And it's called the unseen guest phenomenon. Again, I was playing on the invisible guest because that one worked really well for me. And again, that got like 80K. So it's done brilliantly. So you can kind of, I'm just trying to show you all the different ways of how you're using the exact same hook, but just with different viral words. Now, the third part of the formula is the caption before I show you how to put all of this together really simply. So, with the caption, I've just literally copied one of my captions on here, and I can tell you now, no, not nearly all of my captions follow this exact same formula because If I was putting this out to my existing warm audience, I would never do this ever because it's like you would think, oh, it's a bit robotic in terms of it's following the same kind of formula. You know, I start nearly all of them with something like when I read this, it blew my mind, or I was never the same since, or something really dramatic, because you want to start with like a curiosity hook, even at the beginning of your caption. This death theory wasn't in my caption. I've just titled it. Um, and then, like, we grew up thinking death is a single moment, right? A date, a diagnosis, a heartbeat that stops. But most women I know died long before that ever happened. So it's got a bit of a shock factor, not because they wanted to, but because they slowly disconnected from the parts of themselves that make themselves feel most alive. And this is where it's starting to get into relatability now. Like, this is the formula for the great caption for a cold audience. It starts small. You you stop speaking up when something feels off. You say yes when your whole body says no. You wear the version of yourself that feels easiest for other people to love. Like they're going to be thinking, yep, I do that. Yep, I do that. Yep, I do that. And it looks fine from the outside, blah, 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 blah. But inside it's changed. This is what we call the death theory. So this is where you're putting that psychological reveal in. And then you're revealing what the death theory is halfway through the caption. The moment when a woman's identity keeps functioning, but her vitality quietly leaves the room. We call it burnout, people pleasing, survival mood in conversation, but really it's abandonment dressed up as responsibility. And then this has got a massive emotional punchline. I mean, would you abandon your child in the same way? No. And the scariest part is how normal it feels. So you want them to have like a holy shit moment, basically. How easy is it to believe that this is what adult life is supposed to look like until one day you feel the flicker? A split second where you remember what it felt like to actually want something deeply. And that's the resurrection, not in reinvention, not a new version, just coming back to life in your own skin and going after what you want with fire in your belly. So I always add a little bit of personalization, but I don't spend long on it. And then always a CTA to follow you because that's the goal. Okay. Now, you might be thinking, like, bloody hell, Paula, I can't write a caption like that all the time, every day, and then copy, even if I am copying and posting it over 10 reels. I don't either. Okay. So, what you do, and this is how you now simplify all of this, is I've given you this chat GPT prompt to create captions like on repeat in seconds. All right. So literally, and I've put this in the Google Doc so it's easy for you to copy and paste. You are going to copy and paste all of this in. When you've decided, okay, I'm going to work on whichever theory, like come up with a name. Okay. And one of the next slides helps you come up with those. So create a caption in the style of Paula's viral theory reels. And then you're going to like copy the example. You can copy like that death example that I just put really cheery on the one before. Okay. The theory I want to use is, and then put in whatever theory you're going to use, or conspiracy was the word, phenomenon, whatever it might be. And then this is what you're going to tell it because you're going to copy and paste it in. Here's what I want it to include: a short opening line that creates curiosity and sounds conversational, a relatable real life example or feeling that hooks the reader emotionally, a clear reveal of what the theory or the phenomenon represents, a big perspective shift that makes the reader think, holy shit, that's me. That emotional rhythmic flow, no short robotic lines unless you want them. Closing line that like gets them reclaiming their power, like that aha moment. And then a short CTA like, well, we want a bit more than like follow if this hit or save this. Sometimes you might want to save, but at this point in time, you want followers. And then put in what tone you want. So, like, for example, conversational, sassy, deep, like having depth to it, voice note style. That's the type of thing that I would put in. Or you can add your own. And then whatever it comes back with, because sometimes what it comes back with, I I would say 9 out of 10 times I don't use the exact one it comes back with. Go back to it and like tell it what you want a bit more of. So 99% of the time, I say, can you add a bit more depth into this? Like I want them to actually have a perspective shift or gain something from this. So I might, in total, create in the caption for one set of 10, because we're going to use the same one, maybe 5 minutes it takes me because I'll use the prompt. But now I don't even put the prompt in. I just put in one of my old captions and say, follow this caption. I want you to create one for this. Okay. So that takes about 5 minutes. Then I've also given you a ChatGPT prompt. You probably would do this first, to be honest, but to create like the viral words that you want to kind of start naming your theories or your phenomenons or whatever it is after. Okay. So you could put this in. So I'm creating a piece of short form content to a cold audience in the viral theory style, like, and then give it some examples. And the funeral theory is like a well-known trending one, so it will recognize that. And then I want you to generate 20 new ideas that sound, and I've put in all the things that I kind of said to you. Um, and then please give them to me in this format. So something theory, something effect, something phenomenon, something conspiracy, something rule. You can add others if you want to. And tell me in one sentence what each one could represent metaphorically, e.g., the funeral theory equals how most people don't live until something ends. Okay, just so it gives you a bit of an idea of what that might talk about. Um, I want the names to have the same level of curiosity and tension as words like the ones I've just talked about. Think emotionally intelligent, scroll stopping, slightly spooky, illegal, dangerous, but deeply human. Okay. And it is going to start giving you some words. And like I said, I've done this before, and some of the words it gives you are really boring. And I have tested some of them. So it's like that almost theory. When I read the caption, it was quite interesting. But basically, for these trial reels to work, that viral word is what it all comes down to, basically. Like parallel life, vanishing point, funeral, death, ghost, invisible guest. Those are the what will work. But you can use this ChatGPT prompt to come up with some, and then you've got them all. And then how do you do this? Okay. So you take one, if it were me, I would spend like 30 minutes, around 30 minutes generating loads of the types of words that you want to use. Okay. So I'm going to show you in a moment, but I've got them all like saved in my phone. And I know then this will take me no longer than ooh, maximum 30 minutes a day. But now I've got it down to like 10, 15 minutes. But when I first started, probably 30 minutes a day. Okay. So you take your one viral caption. So you know what your caption is. You put it in your notes. You know what it is. Okay. You then make, again in your notes, because it's easier for copying and pasting, 10 variations of that on-screen hook. So the 10 hooks that I gave you, literally just write them out with the something theory that you're going to use. Okay. The caption doesn't change, it stays identical. Upload them all. So if you've got your posts in the edits app and you've just got a few different B-rolls, you can duplicate them, copy and paste all of the different hooks onto each one, and then post to Instagram, copy caption, post to Instagram, copy caption, literally just 10 times. Let the algorithm test which one explodes. And now this next point is so important. Don't post to your main feed. So automatically trial reels will send out a message to say, this trial reel is taking off. Post it, share it to everyone to blah, blah, blah. Don't. Don't post it. The purpose of this is not for your warm audience. This is purely to capture a cold audience. So even if on those posts where I've got over 1 million views, I'm not posting them to my main grid because they're not for my main audience. They're not nurturing anything. If I had a really dead day or week where I didn't have any content created, there might be one or two that I could tweak. Still, even though they're in trial reels, I could tweak the captions and put them up, but there would be no purpose. It would just be filler content. So do not post, because the other reason for this is even now, so we're like 5 days in almost, I think. Some of those ones that went viral on like day one, 5 days ago, are still bringing in the majority of the followers day after day after day. Your trial reels are still constantly being pushed in the background. So do not remove them from there. Okay. And literally, this is what's pushed my reach up in 4 days. It's 4.5. I think tomorrow is the fifth day. Okay. So just to make it super easy, this is literally what I do. I do all of this on my phone. I don't do any of it on my laptop, apart from putting it in here to show you. Okay. So I have got just a different note for each. Well, I've got one note further down, which is like the list of all the different words I'm going to use. So, like vanishing point, parallel life, death theory, quiet funeral effect, I think it was, whatever it is. So, I've got a list down here. And then I think, okay, so let me write the caption for that. And you could do this in one sitting over time. So I write the caption for it, or ChatGPT writes the caption for it. I save it in a separate note. Okay. And then I take this, which is my top 10 list of hooks, and I copy those, I put them in to the folder, and then I just change the phrase to whatever it is the viral word that I'm doing there. So, like, people don't talk enough about the parallel life theory or phenomenon or whichever one. And you can see here these are mixed with theory, phenomenon. And all I will then do is copy and paste each one into edits when I am doing it. And then when I share each to Instagram, I copy and paste my caption. It literally is that straightforward. It sounds confusing because this is new for quite a lot of you. But honestly, like when you use the copy and paste formulas I've just given you and you organize in the notes of your phone in this way, it's going to be so much quicker for you. And like using Edits app. Okay. And then what I've done is I'm going to send you through the slides. You can click on this and it will take you to the copy and paste text that I have got for you right here. So it's just a lot easier, although it doesn't want to open. Yeah, it's a lot easier. So these are the 10 proven hooks. You can just fill them in the gaps. You've then got the viral word theory generator prompt. It's just what I called it. Copy and paste this into chat. And then you have got the viral caption creation prompt. And then you've also got the caption example that you got. This was the almost theory caption, which although the reel didn't do very good as a hook, the caption follows the exact same formula that I used. So I hope that makes sense. Good luck and enjoy your creation of viral reels.